Welcome back, everyone, to Box Podcast. As you can see, I'm not wearing my Space Cadet headphones, which is nice. It's good to be back. Wherever you're listening to us, do give us a 5-star rating because it really does make a difference to the podcast. We're sorry that F1 is not here, but we are still here. Are we filling the void a little bit? I highly doubt it. But yeah, life seems weird at the moment without F1. So if you do want more F1 content, then do follow us on social media. Just search Box Pod on both Instagram and TikTok, where you'll get exclusive content weekly. We do love that we're building an audience, and it's really good to sort of go on this F1 journey with you guys. So please do engage, comment down below. I think fan engagement is the best thing possible. Like, just F1 fans getting involved in this is perfect. So if you're going to do anything, please leave a comment. We are Box Club. No, we're not. We are Box Pod, powered by Box Club. If you do want to check out Box Club, we offer a 30% discount on the Ultra subscription, or you can just download the app for absolutely free and use it unlimitedly, just without the premium features. So do check it out. Anyway, there is news. Stuff is going on in the F1 world, and we are going to discuss it with you today. Let's go for a ride.
All right, guys, how are you doing? So, yes, Luke is wearing those headphones. It literally sounds like you're in some sort of well or something. It sounds like you're so far away.
Do you know, these are... I'm going to have to think how old these headphones are, because they're not USB-C, they're audio jack. So they would have come with an iPhone that I bought when they were still giving out the audio jack. But that firstly, when they were still doing headphones, which they don't do, it would have come with an iPhone. The last iPhone I had before this was like an iPhone 13. I don't think they came with that because they didn't have an audio jack. The iPhone I had before that was an iPhone X that I bought off my friend, which he definitely didn't give me any headphones with it. So these, these could be over 10 years old. So luckily you guys don't have to listen to me through this.
I
do.
You
do, yes.
Yeah. So that's my punishment for today. So anyway, welcome along to the Box. It's not the Box Pod. Before we get started, I would just like to say a massive thank you to our mates over at Sector who have sent us these lovely hoodies. And
yes,
I want you to go and check them out. Go and check them out in the link below. They are going to be, they're still, the drop is coming soon. The thing I like about it, Luke, you've got your one there.
I do. Should I show this?
Show you the design, because the design is, in my If you're interested, go and check them out. Link is below. But thank you very much to the guys at Sector for sending us these hoodies. I like it. It's their slogan, by the way.
You were jealous of my colour though, weren't you?
I'll be honest with you. When you got that one, I was like, do you want to swap? Not that I don't like this one. I like both of them. But the brown is sick. The Shanghai one edition is sick. But it's a F1 helmet
taste.
Inspired.
That's what we call that.
Sorry?
Unbelievable taste. That's what we call it.
Yeah. The issue is with it, I gave you the option first, which one you wanted to select. And I knew I should have gone first, because that's always the case. But anyway, the guys at Sector, thank you very much for these lovely hoodies. If you're interested, go and check them out. They're coming soon. They're coming soon, and you can get your own. So yeah, thank you very much to the guys at Sector. So F1, is there much news? Not really. However, George Russell has been very vocal this week. And as we know, Max Verstappen has threatened to leave F1. Let me just get it up. The issue is, George Russell's come out and said, there's no driver is bigger than F1. And I agree with that. However,
that's not true. You liar. You think Lewis Hamilton is bigger than F1?
Yeah, I've said that in the past. I've said that. Okay, I own it. Do you disagree with me? Is Lewis Hamilton not bigger than F1? If you lose Lewis Hamilton, you lose a big following there, especially with how F1 is going. Anyway, we won't get into that because I know you're going to actually give me a load of hate in the comments below. So, George Russell has said, you wouldn't want to lose Max. We all enjoy racing against Max. It's just part and parcel of F1. I didn't enjoy driving a 2022 car when it was porpoising, killing everyone's backs, but Verstappen didn't have the same complaints because he was winning. So a bit of a,
I mean,
a double-edged sword there, isn't it? It's like, Max, we want you in F1, but on the other hand, you wouldn't complain when you're winning. You've said this, Luke.
that is exactly what I said. And look, I stand by the fact that I believe Max's complaints are legitimate. I don't think he's fabricating them because he's in a bad car, but I think he is expressing his distaste for these new regulations so frequently and prominently because he's not winning. I don't think he'd probably be saying something along the lines of, oh, they're not the best cars to drive, but you know, it is what it is, if he was winning. That's my opinion on the situation. And I know Max fans will be like, no, he's a racing purist and whatever. Like, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. At no point am I saying Max Verstappen is a liar or the things he's saying aren't genuine beliefs of his. But, you know, George Russell likely thinks these cars are not proper racing. But he's winning races, so he's not going to come out and say it. And Max Verstappen would be the exact same. I don't care what any of you say. None of you know Max any better than I do, right? So you can't dispute me on that because you know him just as well as me. And that's just my opinion. I don't believe Max Verstappen would be coming out complaining if he was winning.
Well, George Russell, when he won in Melbourne, he did say, I love this car. What a car. So was that just because he was winning?
Yeah, he loves it because it's winning. And like rightfully so. You love a winning car. Any race car driver is going to love a winning car. You know, does he love it more than a Ferrari in 2005 if he got to drive that? In terms of experience, probably not. But he's got a winning car. This is the hand that the drivers at this point in time have been dealt. He's got the best hand. Of course he loves it.
Yeah, agree. Max was asked this week about GP. Obviously, as we know, he's going to McLaren in 2028. But Max Verstappen said, GP told me what kind of offer he received. I said, you would be stupid not to do that. We already achieved everything together. And there's more to that interview if you want to go and check it out. But the one thing that really came out of that is Max was delighted for GP. There was none of this whole, you can't leave, we've got more to achieve together. It was very much like, we've achieved everything. You'd be stupid not to take it. It sets you and your family up for life. Go and do it. And I think that's the type of thing that we're seeing more and more from Max. Max has always had this reputation that he could be a bit of an arse and all of this stuff. But actually, he is very kind of like level-headed in the sense of, no, do what's best for you.
Look, I think I always say whenever there are complaints about Max that I make, or if it's, I get heated because he's done something in a race, and this applies to any driver, it's never a personal attack on them. I always believe Max Verstappen is a good guy. And I'm sure at home, he's a world-class dad, a world-class, I don't know if he's married to Kelly or whatever, but I'm sure he's absolutely just a good guy. And that is definitely reinforcement to my statement of saying he's a good guy. That's just, him being happy for a friend, a colleague, someone that he's worked with for a long time, and being like, he's probably thinking, oh, mate, I really don't want you to leave, but that's a mega opportunity. You can't say no to that. And yeah, I think it is a testament to Max's character and likely his development. I think when Max was younger, there probably was the odd character flaw, as we all have when we're young. We're just fortunate that we weren't put on like the main stage and our personalities and dislikable traits were sort of highlighted to the world, because you grow out of a lot of them as you get older, whereas Max kind of had to display them all, and he grew up in F1.
Yeah, no, agree. And I think we said last week, for GP, this is an amazing move for him. It really is. And it continues his development. And I'm assuming his ultimate goal is to become a team principal of a team. So, it's great for GP. Max is delighted for him. Obviously, we've seen clips going, Max, saying, oh, when GP goes, that's me done. I don't think that's entirely true. I think, as you say, Max has matured since those comments. They've achieved a lot, but I think there's still a lot more that Max wants to achieve in that. Interestingly, this week I found a post about drivers' moves that almost happened. So there's 5 drivers, and I kind of want to go through this because these drivers' careers could have gone very, very differently. So let me know if you knew any of these ones. But did you know Michael Schumacher almost went to McLaren? So McLaren offered Michael Schumacher more money than Ferrari did to get him to sign for the 1996. But rebuilding Ferrari appealed more to Schumacher, and Ferrari also offered him greater flexibility in the terms of personal commercial deals and sponsorships. Can you imagine Michael Schumacher going to McLaren?
Would Michael Schumacher be regarded the GOAT if he had gone to McLaren instead of Ferrari?
It's an interesting one, though, isn't it? It is an interesting one because McLaren wasn't bad.
No, it's true. I mean, God, sorry, that just snuck up on me out of nowhere. And like Michael Schumacher was part of the rebuild. McLaren weren't necessarily in dire need of a rebuild in that sense, but you know, they would have gone on to win. Sorry if my dates are like a year out here, but 98, 99 was Mika Hakkinen. So, you know, Michael Schumacher would have gone on to win that. But then would they have continued? Because how important was Michael's input on the car for those like Ferrari sort of heyday, as you might want to call it? You know, he could have been a 9-time world champion. You know, we just don't know. And then perhaps he might not have left in 2005 or whenever it was, 2006. And then, you know, the McLaren was very, very competitive in 2007 and 2008. And I'm just saying, Michael Schumacher might have had a more successful career had he have gone to McLaren.
Bold claim. Do let us know what your thoughts are. Right, the next one. Did you know Fernando Alonso has held talks with Red Bull on multiple occasions, apparently, throughout his career, most notably in 2007 when Christian Horner and Adrian Newey tried to sign him in a car park at Heathrow Airport, but a deal never materialised. Fernando Alonso. I mean, look, Fernando Alonso went to some of the biggest teams in F1. McLaren, Ferrari, Aston Martin, although not much has happened there. But could you have seen a Fernando Alonso at Red Bull?
I've got a question for you on that.
Okay.
Fernando Alonso does go to Red Bull, right?
Yep.
He's at Red Bull. Does Sebastian Vettel win 4 world championships in a row?
Oh. That's a good... Oh, I would say... I don't think he would have won 4. I think Fernando Alonso would have potentially got 1, but I do think Vettel would have won more than Alonso.
That is such a tough one. And the thing is, I think no matter which way you answer this, people are going to hate on it. I think people forget how good Sebastian Vettel was
100%.
because his career did really sort of tail off. But I don't think it necessarily tailed off any more than Fernando Alonso's. You know, I stand by the fact that Fernando has this sort of PR mechanism behind him that makes people still put him in that elite category. And I'm one of them. I still put him in that category. But if you really think about it, why? Like, why do we put him? Because he won 2 world championships? Like, you wouldn't put Sebastian Vettel in that category in 2023 or whenever his last season was, would you?
No.
Why is Fernando Alonso different when he hasn't won a world championship in, you know, nearly 20 years?
It is an interesting one. And Yeah, I don't know this. I don't know why this hype is still there for Fernando Alonso, and we've seen that in the comments when we've posted on social media. The stick that we get, Alonso's better than Lewis, and there's a thing I got to speak to you about in a minute because it made me laugh. Um, but it's like anything, isn't it? Okay, football terms. United haven't won a title in years, but they're still classed as like a massive team. Do you know what I mean? They haven't
Yeah.
won barely anything. Alonso is kind of like that stature, but why? Why has he still got that stature that he's still world class when, as you say, he hasn't won anything in 20 odd years? So
Yeah,
it is bizarre.
but people are gonna sit here, watch this video or watch this clip, and say, "Oh, you're just Fernando haters." I'm really not. I'm genuinely posing the question: if you are a Fernando fan, or you really like have him in that elite category, and like I say, I'm the same. I always consider Fernando Alonso to be one of the best drivers on the grid. But when I sit there and think about it, I do have to say, but why? Because Sebastian Vettel at the end of his career wasn't considered one of the best drivers on the grid. A lot of you don't consider Lewis Hamilton one of the best drivers on the grid. It was only 5 years ago that he was locked in one of the most intense championship battles in the world, in history.
But
Fernando
that's
Alonso,
mad. That's mad because Vettel is a four-time world champion. He's achieved more in the sport in less time than Fernando Alonso. So, but he's not classed
and
as one of the greats, which is bizarre.
and I know people always cite these, Fernando Alonso's career choices, but I don't know, like, is that just a get out of jail free card then? So he made the wrong choice, but he's definitely elite. And it's like, well, he definitely was, but is he still now? Like I say, we're not trying to have a fight with you, Fernando fans. Like, I'm genuinely curious as to what makes you believe that Fernando Alonso is still world class.
Okay, I got a question for you, and this is obviously hypothetically. Say Max Verstappen, he's won four championships, exactly like Vettel. Say he's in the sport for another 15 years. He does the exact same as Fernando Alonso, but he doesn't win a championship at all in that time. Is he still going to be classed as elite like Fernando Alonso is?
I mean, this is the thing. Like, is it okay to acknowledge that some drivers were once elite, but like Michael Schumacher coming back to the sport, right, to race for Mercedes. I don't think anyone considers Michael Schumacher's time at Mercedes to be sort of groundbreaking in terms of results. I know people credit him largely for the success of Mercedes in the future based on, building off his foundations. But it hasn't tarnished his legacy. And I'm not saying Fernando Alonso's legacy should be tarnished here, or in this case of a hypothetical question, that Max Verstappen's legacy should be tarnished. But we should be able to accept that drivers are not once at the standard that they were. And I feel like that's something that a lot of fans struggle to deal with. And you might be laughing because some of you might be thinking irony as Lewis Hamilton fans. And you may be right. And this is why I understand to some extent you Fernando Alonso fans, because you're probably still holding on to, what once was. The difference between you and I is mine was only 5 years ago. Yours was 20.
Still wants to continue the beef. Anyway, on to the next one. Did you know Daniel Ricciardo held talks, on and off talks, with Ferrari for several years, particularly around 2018 to 2020, but a move never materialised into a contract, with Ferrari ultimately choosing Carlos Sainz to partner Charles Leclerc?
That's interesting. I wonder what caused that to not materialise. Do you think that would be down to Daniel Ricciardo's performances? Because if it can only be down to that, because surely if you were Daniel Ricciardo, you'd be like, I'll race for you for free. I'll do it. Like, you come out of Red Bull, you end up at Renault, it's not going that well. You'd do anything to go to Ferrari, wouldn't you?
Well, at the time, Carlos Sainz's performances in that McLaren were decent, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I think they definitely made the right move there, because I think Daniel Ricciardo would have 100% struggled in that Ferrari. You saw how his career tailed off very quickly, and even recently he's discussed that he just lost confidence, and he lost it, and that's okay. And I respect that more from a driver coming out and going, do you know what? I lost it. And he was very open in the sense of RB made the right decision in going, it's time to let you go, because I think he would have continued to go in and go in, and it would have made it worse for him. So I respect that, but I do think that a move to Ferrari would have been horrific. I do think that would have been horrific for him.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because I always think these things go one way or the other. It could have absolutely broken him, or it could have been the catalyst to enable him to get his confidence back.
Well, he went to McLaren. You would have thought that would have been enough to get his confidence back.
Yeah, but McLaren weren't the team that they are now. I know that McLaren really struggled through the turbo hybrid era, as in I'm talking that generation of cars. Daniel Ricciardo left Red Bull after being touted as the next big thing. He then gets trounced on by 18, 19-year-old Max Verstappen, who clearly takes over his crown of the next big thing. He then essentially runs away from the challenge, and that's not a dig at Danny Rick. Ends up at Renault, who don't give him, I guess, what he thought he was going to get. So then performance is not that strong. His confidence would have been in the gutter. But now imagine what it could do for your confidence if a team like Ferrari come along and they think, we see it in you. And, Ferrari had been the next best thing to Mercedes at this point. You're talking 2018 to 2020. Yeah. That, I think that's one noisy cat.
That is a very noisy cat. Yeah.
That I think it actually could have done wonders for his confidence, and it might have sent his career in a very different trajectory.
Yeah, potentially. It's an interesting one. Do let us know what your thoughts are on that, because we've all said Daniel Ricciardo within the sport, great personality, but his career fell off very quickly. And was he massively overrated? And that's another thing which we've discussed previously on the podcast. But yeah, you're right. It could have gone either way. But it's an interesting one. I never really knew that he was potentially linked to Ferrari.
I think Danny Rick would look good in red.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. This next one. Nico Hülkenberg was considered for a Mercedes F1 seat on multiple occasions, most notably as a second choice behind Lewis Hamilton for 2013.
Wow. I mean, wouldn't that have been incredible? Okay, question to all of you at home. If Nico Hülkenberg had gone to Mercedes instead of Sir Lewis Hamilton, how many world championships would he have?
I don't know, because I think in that maybe one.
So you reckon he would have got a world championship? You think he would have beaten Nico Rosberg?
I think he would have beaten Bottas.
Yeah, but
maybe not Rosberg, no.
Nico Rosberg wouldn't have left.
Yeah, true. He wouldn't have beaten Rosberg, no. He wouldn't have beaten Rosberg.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because Rosberg was a great driver. But I'm not... This might sound wild. I'm not sure he was necessarily any better than a Nico Hülkenberg, which I know sounds mental.
Do you think though Rosberg became good? He was always good, but do you think he became because he was pushed by Lewis Hamilton?
That almost definitely would have elevated Nico Rosberg. I mean, Nico Rosberg was a very good driver, and I'm not definitively saying that Nico Hülkenberg is a better driver, but I don't think there would have been a huge gap. But I think Nico Rosberg had to elevate massively. And you cannot take anything away from him that he did beat Lewis Hamilton head-to-head in that season. And that's an unbelievable feat. Do I think Nico Hülkenberg would have done that? I don't know. Maybe he needed that personal drive behind him. Obviously, Rosberg and Lewis go way back. Maybe it was that personal element that really drove Rosberg to end up winning the championship, and some team shithousery that went on that we're not going to talk about. But yeah, I don't know. I think Nico Hülkenberg, bloody hell, too many Nicos here. I think Nico Hülkenberg would have had a very strong career at Mercedes. Do I think he would be world champion over Nico Rosberg? I genuinely couldn't say.
No. Do let us know. Finally, this next one, and I think I knew this one, but F1's biggest what if was Robert Kubica, who was set to join Ferrari in 2012 before a horrifying crash during the 2011 rally in Spain, which left him with injuries that stopped his F1 career until his remarkable comeback 8 years later. I remember that. I remember Kubica was on course for a big move, and that is a massive what if moment, wasn't it?
I mean, Kubica was like kind of regarded as, you know, the next best thing. Also, he was one of those. And yeah, obviously that crash it was in a rally car, was it not?
Yeah.
Kind of ruined his career. I mean, he basically lost the ability to use one of his hands, essentially, which is not ideal for a racing driver.
Cheers, Jeff.
That is... Yeah, just in case you were wondering. That is how fragile like life is and these careers are. You know, he was on the cusp of a Ferrari move, and you know, Robert Kubica I'm convinced could have been a world champion. No doubt about it.
I agree with
but
that one. Yeah.
This is just how life goes. Like, it's full of what ifs and that sort of fine line that you walk. And yeah, it's a shame. You know, who knows how history would look if Robert Kubica didn't step foot in that rally car that day.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Do let us know what your thoughts are on all of those. Right, this one, Nelson Piquet Jr. I don't know if anyone's seen this. What he said this week. He said Hamilton lacks even the love, passion, or hunger that Alonso still has.
Look, this goes back to our earlier point. What does Fernando do differently to every other driver? I don't understand it. Where, like, do I just not see it? Like, I just don't. It's not that I don't think Fernando Alonso has hunger for the sport. I do. But I don't see why Lewis Hamilton doesn't.
No.
Like, what's the difference in them? Like, Lewis has taken on a huge career change at the end of, you know, his illustrious career. But he's not hungry. Because what? Because he had a rotten season last year? Because he was clearly frustrated with the car or his inability to deal with the car? Yet this season he's come out absolutely like thriving, looks well up for it. I don't understand it.
Yeah, but he doesn't have
Like,
the love for it. Come on now. Like, you know, why would you take on such a big project if you didn't love it or you weren't passionate enough for it? Why would you take on such a big move to Ferrari if you're just like, yeah, I'll just go there. I can say I've done it.
Yeah, you know, it must
list.
be because he needs the cash. You know, like, if Lewis Hamilton did not love the sport, there is no other man on the grid who could walk away from the sport and financially not even notice it. You know, he's essentially, by saying he's going to Ferrari, just for a cash grab? Because that's what Lewis Hamilton needs, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. He needs a bit more cash.
Yeah, I just think that's mental. I think actually the Ferrari move really highlights how much passion he does still have for the sport.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Right. So last week we spoke about if McLaren were going to get rid of bringing Max Verstappen, what driver would leave? And there's a lot of comments, but Luke, I think you responded to one of them this week. Basically, somebody has commented, having both of them, they're talking about Lando and Oscar, for the long term, it's better than getting Verstappen, period. You responded, Luke, said, sorry, but this is the worst take I've ever seen.
That is a terrible take. I mean, anyone, and look, this, I'm going to say something that you probably never thought I would say. This even applies to Lewis Hamilton. At this point in time, you reject Max Verstappen for no one. Max Verstappen walks into any seat on the grid. He is the best driver on the grid. It does not matter who you are. There is no better man to drive your car than Max Verstappen. And yes, that hurts me to say. So that's why I think is a terrible take, because Oscar and Lando are both unbelievable drivers. Look, the same goes for Lewis and Charles and George and Kimi. And, there's a lot of unbelievable drivers on the grid. But Max Verstappen is the best driver. So to argue that, oh no, they're best to stick with these two, yeah, shocking take.
No, I agree.
I'd be embarrassed if I had put that.
This one, I don't know how I feel about this. Oscar Piastri is the most overrated driver of all time.
Of all time? Of all time?
Yeah.
Is he? He's the most overrated driver to ever exist.
What? That is... Okay, that is the worst take ever.
No,
I thought the one before was bad. Take. This is awful.
That is... that's just... How... The most overrated driver... He almost won a world championship last year. He was, across the season, the better driver. He's looking like, as this season has kicked off, although it's very early days, the stronger driver at the moment. I mean, what was the name of that account that commented?
They're called Jacob.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be like Norris Lover 238 or something, but it's fine. Like, I would love to know your reasons for why you think Oscar Piastri is overrated. What has Oscar done to suggest that he's not as good as people think?
It's rubbish. Oscar Piastri is not overrated. It's just mad. Mental. Absolutely mental. Do let us know what your thoughts are on that. Luke, did you know Formula One has unveiled plans to make a grand return to South Korea in 2028? The last time we raced there was in 2013.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, look, we love going to... I know it's an old place, but we love going to new places. Yeah, I think it's great. Look, the more diversity that we have in places that we go, and I know you could argue we race in China and Japan, the better. I wouldn't mind seeing the calendar rotated more, year to year. I know that's like a little bit difficult and it's kind of hard on the tracks, but so long as we're going to proper racetracks, I'm fine. I still would love to see a race in Africa. I think F1 should be looking to get on every single continent in the planet. But because why not? Like, they have the ability to. We've got so many races in, and I know I kind of always dig out the Middle East when we have these conversations, but I do love like a lot of the tracks that we race around. Like, I think Saudi is great. I think Bahrain is one of my favorite tracks, and Qatar, but it's such a like densely concentrated area to have races in, when there are places that don't get, South America only has one race in Brazil, and I know you could say, well, they could travel up to Mexico or even into Texas or Miami, wherever, but yeah, it would just be good to see it spread around. But I'm all for South Korea. I'm up for that. I'd love to
agree
go back to India as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd love to see South Africa back on as well. I think that would be sick.
Yeah.
Ollie Bearman was interviewed this week, and he was very, very unhappy with Franco Colapinto after that incident in Japan. Apparently, he didn't even acknowledge him afterwards. He was that mad. So what reports are saying that he actually said that 2 days before, the drivers spoke about, this type of racing and what was acceptable and what wasn't. And literally 2 days later, Ollie Bearman is in this awful incident against Franco Colapinto. So Ollie Bearman was rightly peed off.
But did Franco do much?
There was a lot from what Ollie Bearman was saying. He's saying they spoke about pace and different pace at different parts of the track, and if you are if you've got less race or pace and someone has got more speed coming into the corner, you give more room and all of that type of stuff. Obviously on that occasion Franco Colapinto didn't do that, which ultimately meant Ollie Bearman went in and had an accident. But Ollie Bearman was not happy. He was not happy, and apparently he did ignore Franco Colapinto after the race.
I'm gonna go out there and say I think that's a bit harsh on Franco Colapinto. Number one, these drivers are still learning these cars. Like, that is, it's highly unusual to be in an F1 car going into a corner and being like 60 kilometers an hour slower than the car behind you without any issue, right? This was kind of a normal thing that occurred. I don't think Franco Colapinto did anything that he shouldn't. It's not like he squeezed Ollie Bearman out.
Well, do you want me to tell you what Ollie Bearman said?
Yeah.
So Franco moved across in front of me to defend his position. Last year would have been absolutely on the limit, but probably okay with just 5 or 10 kph speed delta. But with 50 kph, he did not leave me enough space, and I had to avoid a much bigger crash. Basically, when he moved left, when he moved left, it was small, but a speed difference. Any move is huge. So I was lucky not to hit him. It would have been much, much worse if I did. He then went on to say, but I think it was something we spoke about on Friday, which is even a bit more of a frustrating thing. We said between all drivers, come on, we need to give each other a bit more respect. Yeah, move to defend your position with a bit more time because the speed deltas are much higher than we've ever had in our sport. And then 2 days later, that happens, which for me is unacceptable. So we need to figure out things out between us all, have a bit more respect between drivers, because I was really not happy with the action that he did. So
okay, all right. So next time Franco Colapinto, you make sure you drive around the track with your crystal ball, because you should know exactly how fast Ollie Bearman is driving.
Yeah,
I don't think that's fair at all. I'm not saying. I'm going to go out and say I actually don't think Franco Colapinto is to blame at all for this. I don't even necessarily think Ollie Bearman is. No. He came flying round a corner at such a high speed, and it was like a 60 kilometer an hour difference, something like that. I really don't know what you can expect. Franco Colapinto probably started moving over before he even saw Ollie Bearman.
This comes down to it. If you're pissed off with someone, the people to be annoyed with is the FIA. They're the ones who have brought these regulations.
Yeah.
These are the cars that you're dealt. And this is a thing that actually, yes, I agree. There's things that they need to fix. There's real safety concerns. And I think during this period, this break now, I think that's probably what they're working on to try and work on that. But I don't think it's Franco's fault. I think Ollie Bearman was lucky. It wasn't worse. It was an awful crash. But yeah, it's harsh. It's harsh just to say Franco should have known exactly where he was. It was a very tight corner. What you meant to do?
Do you really think it's fair to expect a driver to basically just leave the door open, like wide open, in anticipation that the car behind him might be going quicker? Like, I'm sorry, this is that. In my opinion, that had nothing to do with Franco Colapinto. And if I was Franco Colapinto, I'd be giving 2 fingers to Ollie Bearman. I would. For that, after, I would have been like, shit, man, that's really bad. These cars are a nightmare. But after coming out and saying that, I feel like, Shut up, man. Just, yeah.
Right. That is the end of the podcast. It's a very
No,
short
I've got
podcast.
one more thing. I got
Oh.
one more thing. I got
Okay.
one thing. And this is for your weekly dose of hopium, Ferrari fans. You ready for this? It's very short. It's very sweet. Ferrari is preparing its most extensive package, with around half of the car set to be updated in Miami. So, Lewis Hamilton is going to win the race in Miami. You heard it here first. They're going to have the fastest car by probably about a second and a half. And he's going to go on to win his 9th World Championship.
Oh, the question is, so is the hype bus back in action? We all getting on the bus?
Yeah, well, I saw this reported on Twitter, so it's definitely legit.
There you go. It's not Reddit this time, interestingly. You've actually moved to Twitter. Well done. Or X, whatever you call it.
Well, I actually don't use Twitter anymore, but it got sent to me. But no, I think Miami is going to be so interesting because we are going to have, I believe we should be coming with some engine upgrades. I don't officially know when all that's happening, but there will definitely be a boatload of upgrades coming to a lot of the cars.
I think it's very interesting with this extended break, which we weren't expecting. I think we're going to see a lot of changes come Miami, which I'm excited for. It is very strange. It is very strange without F1. It's another weekend. I think we're meant to be at Jeddah today. I think, or this weekend. I think it's this weekend.
Yeah, that would seem right.
So yeah, it's really bizarre. It's really odd without F1. I do miss it, but it'll be back soon, I'm sure. Lastly, before we go, not firstly, would like to wish you a happy birthday, Luke, for Tuesday. Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoy
Thanks.
it. Have a good one. So yeah, we'll be back next week. Actually, we'll be back next week. Are you back?
You will be back next
I'm
week.
back. There you go.
I am away. I don't get back until Sunday night.
Nice. There you
Bye-bye.
go. You just have me
Bye.
next week. So sorry to disappoint you, but it's just me. Again, massive thank you to our mates over at Sector for sending us these hoodies. Go and check them out. Link description below. And yeah, have a good week and we shall see you soon. Bye-bye.